Good morning. Oh, come on. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, that's better. So one of the privileges that we have is to share with you every semester the individuals who make the Dean's List. These are individuals who maintain a 4.0 average for at least 12 semester hours over the course of a semester, which is not an easy thing to do, as you well know. So if you're here today, please come forward when we call your name. We'll do that individually. If you're not here, then we won't. Well, I'll call your name anyway. Haley Arneson. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Karis Barr. Congratulations. Emma Cathcart. Congratulations. You're welcome. Zakoya Cooper. Congratulations. Austin David. Kaylee Decker. Congratulations. Nora Gianetti. Congratulations. Aurora Gladwell. Jordan Gordon. Congratulations. Lily Gums. Layla Harmon. Naomi James. Congratulations. Brianna Marshall. You sounded surprised. Emily Parker. Griffin Schnetz. Ronnie Shea. Congratulations. Ashley Uman. And Bianca Workentine. And that concludes it. I'll be followed by Mr. McGee.
Congratulations for those good grades. You worked hard for those, I imagine. Phone-a-thon, final announcement. We have a few gift certificates to give away. So Thursday night, February 22nd, Miriam McCubbin spent most of the evening up there. And she made a lot of calls. So Miriam, are you here? I haven't seen Miriam this morning. Miriam McCubbin got the most calls, and she got the most money that night. So thank you to Miriam. And then we had the overall that we promised. That would be a $25 gift certificate. Ashley Uman worked really hard and made the most calls. Thank you, Ashley. There you go. And the most money. Sarah Clausen looked at me and she says, "You sure you want to make this announcement?" Naomi McGee. Congratulations. The significant portion of that money came in afterwards. You left several voicemails. Many of you left many voicemails. And sometimes those voicemails turn into yeses. And that's what happened for Naomi. I want to take just one brief moment and give a final announcement related to Phone-a-thon. I want to start by saying thank you. Students have served for many, many years in this role, doing this, and the campus and the student body has been blessed by what has happened because of that. The student lab for the computers will be upgraded this coming fall for you when you return to campus. There's been new beds, there's been new furniture, there's been new security, there's been new floors in the SLC. There's been a lot of different things that have happened because of Phone-a-thon. As we have evaluated and considered this year, again, the results of how it went and what was going on the phone lines, this is the last Phone-a-thon. We won't do this again. Times change. Strategies have to change. The ways we communicate has to change. And when there were almost 1,000 touches on the phone, and over 800 of them were merely a voicemail that was left, that means people are not answering their phones. They're just not. You experienced that. I watched you experience that. And this isn't a one-off. This is now 3 years in a row that we've had this. And so it's time for us to change. And so I want you to know that, number one, we've made that decision. We will not be running Phone-a-thon next year. Number two, that doesn't mean there won't be opportunities to serve. And those conversations are ongoing. You'll be hearing more about that as time goes along. Primarily what I want you to hear, though, is thank you for your faithfulness. Thank you for coming. Thank you for doing as you've been asked. Personally, I appreciate that. The institution appreciates that. And we will move forward from here as to what comes next. So, Josh?
All right, good morning, everybody. Our speaker today is Dr. Josh Paxton. He's the head of the Intercultural Studies program. He's also been a professor here for 10 years. So give it up for Dr. Paxton.
Hey, crew. So, now you've been good morning to death already. But it is good to be with you this morning. And you know, it's always hilarious to me how you can't plan things. God just has a way of working them out, because just before chapel started, John asked if he could make an announcement, and he came up and made an announcement, and it had to do with communication. Lo and behold, my topic for today, which I don't think he knew walking in here, because ironically, Facebook advertised that I would be talking about Wyoming. I will not be talking about Wyoming today. However, April 19th, the missions outreach student team will be here, and we will pray for some missionaries, and we will definitely talk about Wyoming at that point in time. So, okay. So I served. I'm going to need some help, by the way, so apologies to those of you who chose to sit in the first two rows. You're going to be my assistants. And so we're going to do a little bit of role-playing, maybe, so something like that, because I recognize that my PowerPoint's going to be a little difficult to see, so maybe we'll live it out instead. Like I can switch. So, but it's this message I want to tell you is born out of something that I experienced while I was working at Echo Ranch. I served at Echo Ranch as the camp pastor quasi for a while, for a camp season, and inevitably I went into that not really being in a position before of, how do I come up with something to preach about every single week? Like that was my introduction to doing that. And inevitably, every single week, something would happen at camp, and it was like God was going, yeah, that's what you need to preach about. So this message is born out of a few conversations that I've had with some folks around Calvary, and just kind of, this is something that needs to be said. It's something that needs to be shared. And I'm going to apologize to the, I don't see Dr. Dodd, so he won't yell at me too much. Oh no, okay. But when it's all said and done, you can come up and talk to me about proof texting and not being very exegetical in my message and all of that. So, but I want to talk to you about communication today. So you can judge when it's all said and done how good of a job that I did in communicating principles of communication. I understand the position that I have put myself in. So, but if you have a Bible or you have a phone and you want to go there for the context, we're going to start with James 1:19. But we're not going to stay in James 1:19 because I'm going to use James 1:19 as something of a launching off point. And then we're going to dive into the science of communication, right? What is communication? What does it look like? What are some things we have to think about and consider as we talk to people, post Facebook messages, leave phone calls, all those kind of things. So James 1:19 says, "Know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear," I underline those for a reason, "slow to speak, and slow to anger." I didn't underline slow to anger because it occurs to me as I read this passage that slow to anger is kind of the consequence of the first two. If you are quick to hear and you are slow to speak, then that's going to help you not get angry so much. If you are scrolling through Facebook and you see something inflammatory and your fingers pop off and you're responding right before you have to take the opportunity to hear and be slow and consider, should I respond to this? Then, well, we all know how that ends. And I have two main points. First, communication is what is heard, not what is said. Think about that for a little bit, right? And we're going to dive specifically into that. The second one, and it correlates, how you say something is just as important as what you say. Now, specifically diving into that, I'm talking about the difference between the content, the words, the letters, the reading, the video, all right? The content itself compared with the context in which it is shared. And there is a reason why context appears bigger on the PowerPoint, because context can often and frequently does determine the way that the content is received. The context in which something is said can be much more powerful than what you actually said. Right? Anybody experience this? Right? We've all, I think we'd agree, we've all experienced this. Somebody has shared something to us and it's been like, that's true, but this was not the moment that I wanted to hear that right now. You could have waited. You could have waited a little bit, right? So, communication is messy. I would like to. It would get too messy, but I kind of like to write sin right across the entire top of that, because overlying everything is the result that we live in a fallen world with fallen brains and fallen words, and we just don't do a very good job managing those things. Okay, don't worry. I'm going to walk you through this. Volunteers, get ready. Right? Get ready, prepare yourselves, okay? So, communication starts with somebody who wants to say something. Tanner, get over here. So, Tanner wants to say something. I'm sure he wants to say something right now in the fact that I called him out, but he's going to work hard. He's going to restrain himself. He's going to be slow to speak at this particular moment in time, okay? But communication starts with a source, right? The source wants to say something. He has something he has to communicate. He has meaning within his mind that he wants to convey to another person over here. So this naturally involves a few questions, okay? So where is meaning to be found? So, Mr. Bacon, take notes. This is relevant for hermeneutics. All right, where is meaning to be found? Is meaning to be found in the source? Is Tanner the one who has the meaning? Is meaning in the message, the words he's actually going to convey? Is it in the respondent, the person over here? Nathan, I need you. Is it in Nathan? Is Nathan the one who determines the meaning of this message? Okay. Or is it out here somewhere? It's external to both of them, and without getting into all of the details, it's kind of found in all these things a little bit, right? Like, so things are left open to interpretation. But the reason I have meaning under the source is because that's really kind of the one we consider to be important. Tanner has something to say, and Nathan needs to hear it. I mean, you're sitting next to each other, so I'm hoping you're friends. The issue is, how is he going to get that message from his brain into Nathan's brain so that Nathan receives the intended meaning of the message as it existed in Tanner's head? Are you with me? No, okay, all right. I think I'm getting more yeses than I am. All right, so, okay. So we have a communication process, right? We're building our model here. So somehow this message has to get from Tanner over to Nathan. This is our process of communication, right? And everything else that we have to talk about in this model concerns how does that actually happen, okay? So first of all, if we have a message to share, we need a code in which to put that message, the most common of which would be language. Tanner, you speak English?
A little bit.
Nathan, you speak English?
Yeah.
All right, we're off to a good start. We're off to a good start, because if Nathan didn't speak English, I'd need a different volunteer. But it's gonna work. It's gonna work. So we need a common language. They need to be able to understand the words that each one of them is saying, right? We also have a context for that language, in that if Tanner here speaks British English, and Nathan over here speaks American English, there's a few things that just might get lost in translation, just a little bit. So Tanner wants to tell Nathan about prams, and Nathan has absolutely no idea what a pram is. Tanner doesn't know what a pram is either. So we need a common code, a language that they can understand, right? Now, I want to be sure that you guys understand, I'm not just talking about speaking. I'm also talking about writing, video, the internet, right? This is relevant for any form of communication, okay? We're going to dive into the context a little bit more, but right up front, I'll say the context in which the communication happens, whether it's a one-on-one conversation, or it's a text message, or it's an email, or it's a video, or it's a Facebook reply, has the potential to change the meaning of the message. That's really important. The media that we use to communicate something can create additional problems, can create additional layers of misunderstanding if we're not careful, right? One of my favorite movies. I was wondering how long it would take people to get, all right? No, Princess Bride, anybody? Nobody's, right? And so, you know, Vincini, inconceivable. Like, I don't think that word means what you think it means, right? So we also have to define our terms. Man, especially today. I mean, I teach intercultural studies, and let's be honest, intercultural studies mainly has to do with, okay, you're going to leave this country and you're going to go to another country and learn a new language and learn a new culture so that you can share the gospel, plant a church, and leave behind fully committed disciples of Christ. like the people, not the denomination. But it's relevant even right here, because there's people around you who don't use words the same way that you use those words. We don't understand terms the same way. We don't even understand what God means the same way. The word, right? Which one are you referring to? Are you talking about Yahweh or Allah? Are you talking about the one I made in my own image, right? We have to define our terms. We have to explain these days what we mean by that, okay? So back to this. All right, I need a message. I need a message. So Tanner has a message. All right, here's his message right here. Okay, so whatever you need to do to like mentally, just form your message. And Nathan is over here, and he is ready to receive that message. So we're going to send our message to the respondent. Excellent. 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 All right, our respondent has sent the message. He's received it. We're not sure if it's in the exact same shape and form that it was intended to be in at this point, but it happened, okay? At the same time, while he's sending the message, okay, Nathan is going to be giving some feedback. I need some feedback.
Ba, 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 ba.
Oh, you want to be some? All right, Naomi wants to be. She's like, Naomi is all about the feedback. Okay? She's all about it. Nathan, let's send some feedback. Fantastic. Okay, now here's the thing. You see the little circle in the middle, right? This is not a one and done kind of process. While he's talking and sending his message, Nathan is going to be talking and sending feedback. So let's see some circular motion going on here. Come on. No, you're good. You stay. You stay. Send. He's the feedback now. You're the message. Okay. Message goes. Feedback. Feedback goes. Message goes. All right. You're getting the idea. Why are you stopping? Keep walking. You didn't know you were going to get exercise in chapel today. All right. You got to stop because I have to be able to talk. But so we're communicating. We have a message, feedback is coming. Hopefully I'm communicating to you guys, and you may not realize this, but even as I'm talking to you, you're giving me feedback. Some of you are nodding, and some of you are laughing. I'm doing my best to keep it entertaining. Some of you may be looking at phones. I'm hoping that you're looking at the PowerPoint that I sent out earlier today on your phone. Maybe Facebook, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not exciting enough, right? But there's feedback happening even right now in this particular communication event, okay? And so this is a circular process. Now, we have a problem. So, in any kind of communication, there is noise. Noise could be, maybe Tanner has a lisp, or he's got a stutter, or noise could be the way something is being communicated. Noise could be the situation. They're trying to talk to one another, and this idiot in the middle is saying stuff over speakers, and so it's really hard for them to hear one another, right? Noise could be pretty much anything, but no communication is ever perfect simply because of the noise involved. Right? So I need you guys to talk. Let's send the message, let's send the feedback, and I need all of you guys to give them some noise while they're doing so. Come on. Yeah, no, just walk. Right? Walk. All right. All right, go sit down. You guys have been great. Give them a round of applause. You have at least entertained my eccentricities this morning. So because of this, right, because of where meaning is to be found, because of what Tanner intends to say, because of how Nathan is receiving that message, no message is ever received exactly the way that it's intended to be received. Right? Because communication is messy. Tanner could be tired. right? Nathan could be tired, right? They might both need some coffee, maybe an energy drink, maybe they need some Red Bull in their espresso, whatever. And so, but it just never quite works perfectly, okay? On top of that, and I know my diagram just got a whole lot messier. So, because this is really the point. These two things around here are really the point of the message, because Tanner doesn't enter into this conversation just completely neutral. He's got family, and he's got a history, and he's got a culture, and he's got a background, and he's got beliefs and worldviews, and he understands the terms in particular ways. And then Nathan is over here, and Nathan has family and history and a background and beliefs and worldviews, and they don't come to this as exactly the same person. Because they don't come to this as exactly the same person, those hidden factors are going to play a large role in how Nathan receives the message, as well as the kind of feedback that he gives to Tanner, and then the way Tanner receives that feedback and changes the way that he's communicating his message in accordance with the feedback that he's getting. Are you with me? Okay? Because it's messy. All right, and I can't see my PowerPoint very well myself. So your source has a background. They have life experience. They have things that they've been through. They have the context they're living in, whether or not life is going great, whether or not they have underlying financial issues or health issues, or they're stressed about something that's going on in their life situation. And they bring all of that into what they are sharing. Your source has an environment. Well, they both have an environment. But whether or not that communication is happening here in chapel, or it's happening down in the coffee shop, or it's happening in the context of class, or over a phone, or through a video message, right? There's an environment. What noise is involved in that environment? What potential exists for you to misunderstand, to mishear somebody because of that? They may not hear very well. You guys, you've had me in class, and you know pretty much every single class period I have to ask you to repeat something, maybe 3 or 4 times, because I wear hearing aids. I used to have, when I was growing up, somebody once said that God gave us 2 eyes and 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can speak only half of what we hear. And then people would be like, well, Josh, why don't you talk very much? Be like, well, since I can only hear half as much as a normal person can hear, I can only speak a quarter of as much as a normal person speaks. Ergo, I don't talk a whole lot. This is some math lesson for you this morning. So what's the environment? Is it conducive to this kind of communication? Does it need to wait? Not every message needs to be shared immediately, right? What about cultural differences? Now, Tanner and Nathan, they generally share same cultural background and everything. He's a culture unto himself. But, you know, I could have Tanner up here, and let's say I had Jordan up here, who's from Jamaica, and there's a few cultural distinctions in that. Not a lot, right? But, you know, anytime you get into that situation, the way words are used, the way language is used, the way people communicate according to that culture, the way things are understood, right? So that can create problems as well. Worldview issues, how we define our terms, okay? So we did just get back from Wyoming, and we learned a lot about that, right? About what cultural underlying worldview issues can play a role in communication. But that's relevant here too when you walk next door to your neighbor who happens to be, I don't know, an atheist. And so they don't believe in God. Their worldview doesn't contain a picture of God. It doesn't contain a framework for spiritual things and having spiritual conversations. And so the way that you communicate with them is of necessity going to have to be slightly different than the way that you communicate with your brother or sister in Christ, because you have a similar understanding of the terms. All right, community. What kind of community is this communication taking place in? Calvary has a culture. The U.S. has a culture, organizations have culture, families have culture, right? Culture is any time you get a disparate group of sinful people together and they have to figure out how are we going to do life together and not make everybody mad, right? So within that community, what is appropriate communication? I'm communicating to you guys right now without saying my words. I'm communicating to you in the way that I'm dressed. This is chapel dress, sort of, because I'm a little bit of a rebel sometimes. But used to be when you spoke in chapel, you had to wear a tie. That was a requirement. It's like, so then we don't have to. I wear ties for weddings and funerals. But so what community involvement is it appropriate in your church for the pastor to stand up and he speaks wearing the suit and the tie and he looks good as he's expositing God's word? Is that something your community expects? And what does that say about his communication to you? Or what does it say if he stands up and he's wearing jeans and a Chiefs shirt? What is that communicating? Maybe in some communities that's okay and acceptable, but in other communities, it's not okay and it's not acceptable, right? So how does the community affect what's being communicated, right? Also, expectations. So what are Nathan's expectations for what Tanner has to say to him? Is Tanner his friend? He expects good things from him, right? He thinks, Tanner's he's gonna say stuff that builds me up, right? That edifies me. He's not going to say things that tear me down. What are his expectations? Do you guys know? And maybe hopefully the students in here, you're too young to have experienced this. But frequently, Christians do a great job of hurting other Christians. I feel like a large component of that is because we expect more. We expect more, right? I expect more from somebody who claims to follow Christ. When the way they're talking to me or the things that they share, post on Facebook, or the way they dress, right? Whatever it is, the way they sit in class, right? The engagement that they have, I have higher expectations. And because I expect more, that's going to impact my reception of what they're saying to me. Okay? Are you with me? Because this is like semester worth in 30 minutes here. Okay? And so we have the content, the message itself, but underlying that content, we have context over here, context that came from the source, the life that they're living, the things that they're dealing with, how they woke up this morning, whether or not they drank their coffee. We have context over here, dealing with the respondent, the way they're going to receive that message, how awake they are, whether or not they had their morning coffee. We have context within the message itself, right? The particular situation in which it's intending to be conveyed. So context ends up being a lot bigger deal than merely the words, the message itself. So you've probably seen this on Facebook. But you might forget that big whole diagram. But something that you can take home with you. The context is the totality of somebody's life. Everything they've been through, how they were raised, their worldview, their culture and understanding, the way they understand the terms, what they're going through in this moment right here as you are choosing to engage them in a conversation, right? That's their whole life. The content is just this little message that you're trying to break in and help them understand. So in any kind of communication, there's a bit of give and take here. Right? I as the I, as the individual who has a message to share, I have some responsibility. So, Tanner, come back up here. Nathan, come back up here. I need to give the people something to look like other than me. You two are prettier than I am. So Tanner has a message to share. Before he ever opens his mouth to say a word, he needs to ask himself, how is Nathan going to receive this message? Is he gonna respond well to this? Is he gonna respond poorly to this? Right? He needs to. How is he going to receive this? Okay. Now, I mean, if Tanner is merely sharing the latest football scores, obviously he doesn't have to put a whole lot of thought into that, unless Nathan's team is the one that lost. But he does need to think about it. How's he gonna receive that? Okay. But it works both ways, because as Nathan is receiving that message, he needs to consider the source. Who's telling me this? Is this my trusted friend who I sat next to in chapel because I really like him? Or is this some stranger who called me up on the phone, right? Like, I don't know this person from Mickey Mouse. Like, okay. So he needs to consider the relationship that he has with the source. Right? Bible tells us faithful are the wounds of a friend, right? I might not want to hear this, but maybe I really need to hear it, right? I can totally tell Tanner. You guys can sit back down. I can tell Tanner has some things to say to Nathan. All right. So what do I want to leave you with? Slow down. We live in a culture where communication moves at breakneck speed. I mean, if an event happens and you're not the first person to share it or comment on it or, whatever, then it's too late. You've been left behind, right? I have a few YouTube channels that I follow, and it's always funny to me. A video will get posted, and somebody will comment, first. Like, okay, so you want a medal because you were the first one to see this video? I'm like, I don't understand. But slow down. Consider the consequences. You don't have to post it immediately. You don't have to share it at all, right? Just take some time. Think about how your audience, whoever your audience may be, is going to receive this particular message. Whether that's something that's verbally spoken or it's something that comes out on social media. Okay? So slow down. All right? Speak slower. Choose your words carefully. Hopefully, I've not been doing a very good job of it right now, but hopefully some of you, as you dialogue and you interact with me, you'll notice that sometimes you can ask me something and I can be really slow to respond, and it's because I'm processing, how do I want to say this in a way that isn't going to make you mad? So think about it. Right? Think about the way that message is going to be received. Slow down. Listen well. Ask clarifying questions. When you said this, is this what you meant by that? Well, no, actually, okay, can you explain it in a better way then so I can understand the point you're trying to get across, right? So ask questions. Ask people to clarify something. And then, if you're the one receiving it, assume this person has good intentions. So your questions are a desire to know, okay, what is the meaning that you're actually trying to convey to me in your head? Because I recognize that might not be coming across the way you intend to. Right? So what does it mean for us to be quick to hear? All right, so if you're the listener, if you're Nathan, standing over here, and he's receiving this message, right? Consider your source. Ask clarifying questions. Is this somebody I know and love and trust? Do they love me? Do I have a relationship with them? Can I assume that they have good intention even though this might not be coming across very well to me right now. Okay? Slow to speak. If you're the speaker, if you're Tanner over here, right? Consider the audience. Before I ever open my mouth to say something, how is this going to be received? And how can I communicate it in a good, loving, and kind way? Recognizing that the person, the individual who is made in the image of God is far more important than whatever message I might have to give them. Okay, so consider the source. All right, again, recognize the media you use to communicate something has the potential to change the message. Struggle to say this, but honestly, guys, the gospel shared in a Facebook post comes across very differently to a lot of people than when it's shared over coffee at a coffee shop. It's just something to think about, right? The media has the potential to change the message. Assume, this is a counseling principle, assume nothing, verify everything. Is this what you meant when you said that? Right? Assume the best, ask those clarifying questions. I'm out of time, so I'm going to end it there. Do you have questions for me? You have one question. Okay.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Paxton. So yeah, I just have one really quick question as Praise Band comes up. So you talked about how the media changes everything. So my question is, how do we best communicate when using social media or texting? And is that even a good way to communicate?
Yes, it can still be a good way to communicate, but the primary issue is what is it that you're wanting to communicate? And is it appropriate for that particular context? So, sharing, here I go being slow to speak. But sharing something personal for another person, for example, I mean, we should all be able to identify with that, is something that is not best communicated via social media, especially to a wide audience. Consider, this is my message. Who really needs to hear this message? Does this need to put out there for the entire world, the public, everybody to see? Or is it something that really I should talk to that particular person about it? So I've had numerous things where I've seen a social media post by somebody, and people have started commenting, and my response has been, okay, I need to call them and find out what's really going on, because the whole world doesn't need to know about what this is.